So artificial intelligence, really just refers to computer systems that can perform things that are typically humans can do. Oftentimes, practically, we define it as things that are just outside the realm of possibility. It's kind of funny to see how the industry has evolved over the last 50 years in light of that. But when I think about it in terms of education, really thinking of one, being able to communicate, so talk to a student just like a teacher might be able to, and then be able to perform complex tasks like create a learning pathway, recommending the best ways to what to teach and what to learn, those types of things. For me personally, I think that when we think about artificial intelligence, I like to look at it very broadly and say that in some ways computers are intelligent in the sense that a calculator can solve math problems that I never can solve. A database can search through millions of records faster than a human possibly can. So computers already can do things that we can't do. And so oftentimes we just place artificial intelligence in the realm of things that aren't quite capable yet. At least that's been the history over the last 50 years. But now we're really developing systems that are outperforming humans in all kinds of variety of tasks. And so there's kind of this concept of general artificial intelligence, which is being able to perform well across a wide variety of tasks, versus narrow artificial intelligence, where you're just doing something really well, whether it's recommending products on Amazon, or it's recommending the right math lesson to a student, or it's just having a conversation with someone. Those are all examples of narrow intelligence. So when it comes to data privacy, this is a standard thing across any tech industry. So all software platforms have to do this. And now there's finally some regulations around it, like GDPR in the European Union, where it dictates how the data can be shared with others and how it's kept, especially when in the United States and Europe, where there's strict laws about how children can interact online and how their information can be shared. And so there's already clear guidelines established around that. And so the key piece here is, are these software platforms, how are they sharing their data, and are they abiding by these regulations? The important thing, of course, is to keep things secure and private. Just like your bank account information, you want that secure and private. Same thing with student records and those types of things, or like your health records. So those standards and guidelines are there, which is great. In terms of ensuring unbiased learning experiences, this really depends a lot on the type of applications that's being rolled out. And in some ways, it can actually help with this, because the software system is going to interact the same way with anyone that's using it. And we'll just use whatever information is provided to it. So if we don't profile people based off of their ethnicity or religion or race or something, then the computer won't treat people differently based on those things. And so when it comes to making sure those are unbiased, the biggest thing is around data collection and mitigation. So when it comes to creating and training models, I think of mostly when it comes to recommendation engines, where they're trying to recommend what the next learning thing is or what type of questions to ask. You want to make sure that the data that's being fed into the system is unbiased, in the sense of it has the same amount of data from all different types of races or religions or different demographics that we are concerned about. And so that's a really key component, is really just looking at the data and understanding what biases are inherent in the data, because the biases inherent in the data will be then reflected in the model itself. And so I think the most important thing is just being aware of that, and then also having clear transparency about what is in there, and having the users and the stakeholders being able to understand how the things are being used and recommended. So there's definitely a lot of work that needs to be done and is being done on creating that transparency and explainability, so that way stakeholders can understand what's being done behind the scenes. Well, I think anytime we are, this is a really common question. Everyone is concerned about their jobs being eliminated or changed. And oftentimes I think we have to ask ourselves, where does the fear come from? And most of the time for me, it comes from just the unknown, right? When we just don't know what's going to happen. We don't know, are their job going to be changed? Are we going to have it? All those types of things are definitely scary questions to be considering. I think the key is staying ahead of the learning curve and being one that helps to shape the future and being an innovator to help lead these things. So as software systems are used more heavily in the classroom, the teachers are needed to actually make those systems useful, right? And so people building these software systems need, a lot of teachers to help create and craft really good learning experiences, because, the developers can't do that. We need the experts, the teachers, to be able to create these things. But so there's that side of it, is just, do you want to be on that part of help to shape this future if you are a teacher? And then also thinking about some things that won't change, like the one-to-one relationships when it comes with a teacher and their students. That's really critical for success. Like I touched on earlier, being able to monitor a student's behavior, relate with them, empathize with them, listen to them, build that relationship. And, AI is not going to be able to do that, and teachers need to, are going to be critical to really inspiring students to want to learn and to make it exciting and to make it fun. And so that role, I think, will always be there, but it'll probably just change and be different. Maybe a teacher might be able to manage 100 students, instead of just 20 students, since you're not having to work with all of them at once. And one thing I think we did see through COVID is, many schools had to go online and try and do classes over Zoom. And that didn't work for the majority of people. I don't know what the stats are, but just subjectively, it seemed like many students just really couldn't do it. Obviously, there were some that excelled and were able to do it, and they had that accountability, had that support from their parents. They're able to be disciplined to do it. But many just totally almost missed out on like a year of learning because they weren't able to sit through an hour-long Zoom class. And so that is, I think, just highlights the importance of teachers building relationships with their students. And whatever the technology is used and however it's used, that will always be a key component. I think one of the big questions here is, how do you assess a student's real understanding and their desire to learn? We don't want students, cheating, right? I think when it comes to writing papers, it'd be really easy to do that. Now with ChatGPT, you can just pretty much have it write a paper for you on anything. So figuring out, one, we can use AI to help understand plagiarism, and even how do we define plagiarism if we allow students to use AI to help write their papers. And then, of course, students being able to verify the facts of an AI agent that spouts out, right? So do they really understand the material? And what's even the nature of homework? Like, how do you really understand whether a student learns something and if they know what they're doing, versus just turning in a paper that, the software wrote? So I think as we go forward, we want to think about, how do we measure success? Like, what are the measurements of success? Obviously we have our standardized exams like SATs and GRE and all that stuff. So those are really good things. So this is a great question, I think. And as I've just been talking through these questions and researching this a little bit more, I think it's incredible to really imagine. Like I kind of mentioned before, what if the dropout rate was, below 1% or below 0.1%? We just were able to build an education system where everyone graduated and everyone was educated. Imagine if more people could be graduating at 15 years old, 14 years old, or even 13 years old from high school or secondary school, or people could even be graduating with their bachelor's degree when they're 18 or 16 and getting their PhD by the time they're 20 or 21. Right now it's the geniuses that can do that. But I think with AI, we could have, 10% of the population do that, right? Or something. I'm just throwing out numbers, but the point being is, what if, right? We need to ask ourselves these questions. What would it look like to change our society where people don't dread going to school, but they actually love going to school and they're excited about going to school and they're excited about spending time with their friends and learning and discovering what's there and not making it just something boring you have to sit through, but something that you're really excited about and really tap into just the power of learning. And that would change the world. And then, of course, I think one of the biggest opportunities is just what if there was no longer an access issue to education based on your income or geography or demographic, right? What if we really didn't have any division based off of where you lived or where you came from, but everyone could be getting like the equivalent of a bachelor's degree from Harvard or a master's degree from Stanford throughout their educational experience, because instead of having like just a few number of top teachers, all of a sudden we can have millions of people be able to go through these top graduate schools and be able to perform that much better in society, to think more rationally, be able to do things in a new way. So I think the possibilities are endless, and it's something that will be very exciting to see how it develops. But of course, with any new transition, we have to be thinking about learning and also watching out for those pitfalls and those different changes. So thanks for having me on. It was great to think through this, and I look forward to hearing about it. I'd be happy to continue the conversation as well. And I would appreciate anyone's feedback on anything I said. I'm sure I made some mistakes and made some errors, so I'm happy to take any corrections as well. Thanks.